Well, there is now a big push from both sides to reach younger voters in this election, but some in Gen Z are going beyond just voting and running for office themselves. Voter turnout among people 18 to 24 has been growing since the start of the 21st century and is expected to be even higher this year. Right now, there's about 70 state legislators under the age of 30 and only one member of Congress. Will those numbers go up soon? We are joined now by two Gen Zers running for office. Nick Jacobson, who's running for the State House in Pennsylvania as a Democrat, and Amber Hulse, who's running for the State Senate in South Dakota as a Republican. It is wonderful to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Amber, I'd like to start with you. So you're running in a district where most voters are over the age of 65. How do you plan on bridging this generational gap to connect with your older constituents?
Well, when I door knock, I have people all the time, say, are you even old enough to vote? But I think what's really interesting is that when you start talking about the issues, it doesn't matter how old you are. People see hope in a future generation stepping up to the plate and wanting to get involved. They know that Ronald Reagan quote that, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. And they're very, very glad that people that are my age are stepping up to take over the reins and to continue on that tradition for future generations to come.
Well, it certainly is refreshing to see. I think we can all agree on that. Nick, you got started in public service early. You were working in state departments and on rural health care. What prompted you to throw your hat in the ring?
Well, I think it's such a pleasure to be here. And Amber, it's so nice to meet you. And thank you very much for having me. Really, for me, I think the great thing about our country is that it's up to us to make it what we want to make of it. And I wanted to run because I think you don't have to look far to be frustrated with politics, to feel like it's divisive, divided, paralyzed. But I think we make the politics that we want to see in the world. And this campaign is about telling people that together we can work on the things that matter most to our community and that we can get a lot done that matters not only today and tomorrow, but being a young person for the next 20, 30 years and for the kids that I don't even have yet.
Well, I love that you're thinking about the future for all of us. Amber, your experience includes internships with top political leaders, time as Miss South Dakota. How have those experiences shaped your perspective and your public stance?
Well, being in the pageant world prepares you well for political office because it's almost like running for office in a lot of ways. So I was grateful for that experience as a young person to represent the state in that capacity. But I think a lot of people see young people without life experience, but, these internships, clerkships, and experiences, seeing the inside of how government works at a very young age prepares you in some ways more than even older candidates that are running for office in other careers, because you get to see the political process from the inside out, and have experiences that many people in the public don't have, and understand what flaws are in government, where there is, intricacies that could be changed. And so that experience was really invaluable because now, as a hopefully future elected official, I will know where we need to make cuts and changes to be more effective in government.
And I would argue it's brave to get involved in politics, especially at this stage of the game. We're seeing so much vitriol, both sides, really. Nick, as a Gen Z candidate, what challenges or advantages do you face, do you believe? And how are you using your age to connect with voters in your jurisdiction?
Thanks for that question, Kelly. I just got an email from a guy in the district who's in his 70s. He said, me and my wife are voting for you, Nick. I've never met him personally, but he sent this email and said, when the founders of our country, many of them were in their 20s when they were fighting the Revolutionary War, when they were writing the founding documents that have set us up for 250 years of a free country. That every generation we have to take action to make happen and to keep going. So I feel like being young, having a long commitment to not only the place where I grew up, where I was born, where I've lived my entire life, but to our country as a whole, being able to think about what kind of world could we live in? What kind of world are we making, not now, but again, down the road? That's the kind of long-term thinking that I think we need in politics. And I think young people are the perfect people to be fighting those fights, because we'll be around to see them come to fruition.
You know, I'd love to pick your brains for a second here. I'll give you a minute each to respond, because it's interesting to get your perspective. Both of you are going against the trend in terms of the youth vote. And gender is going to play a big role in this upcoming election. We've reported on all of this. Amber, why do you believe young women skew so heavily toward Harris this time around?
Well, I think that it's a large lie that is told to young females as a conservative female, that only female politicians are able to represent the values and belief systems that you hold. And that's something that I think Turning Point USA and Run Gen Z are doing a really great job of giving young conservative or Republican women a place to feel like they belong, and really changing that narrative, that only Democrat female candidates can really represent your belief systems. And that's something that I, as a young woman running for office, from the ideology that isn't as common, it really breaking out that the narrative is not necessarily true, that all young women are liberal, because we're not. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share that voice, because I think so many young women think that they should believe something because everybody else is, and that's not necessarily the case.
And, Nick, I want to give you the same opportunity. Why do you believe Trump has such a sizable lead among young men?
When I talk to people in the district, and I talk a lot to young people, because I do feel like the campaign is about our future. And I hear a lot of frustration. Living in the middle of Pennsylvania, you don't have to look far to see the place changing. Farmland changing, access to the internet being a crucial thing for the future. And when I'm talking to people, they're thinking about, what are my kids going to grow? What kind of world are they going to grow up in? What kind of leaders are we going to have to show them how to be Americans, how to be Pennsylvanians, how to build lives for themselves and for their families? And I think what we need in politics is people focused on those issues, on that reality and the lived experience of young men and everybody. The number one thing that I hear in frustration is from people in this area is that people don't care about me, people don't notice me, people don't even talk to me, they don't even knock on my door. And that's the kind of politics that leads to bitter infighting, to anger, to vitriol, to violence. And it's exactly the opposite of the kind of politics that is going to move us forward. So I don't pay a lot of attention to the way people are voting. I pay attention to what people need, what people tell me they need, and what's going to make a difference in people's lives. And that's what politics should be about. And that's what this campaign is about. And that's fundamentally what I believe America is about.
Nick Jacobson, Amber Hulse, good luck to you both. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.